Hello, I'm Chris Pajak. Welcome to the Redmen TV. It is daily news time once again, and we've got some good news when it comes to players for once. So Emre Can apparently is set to sit down with Liverpool representatives this month to talk about a new contract at Liverpool Football Club. You know, we've heard the rumours for a long time now. We saw what Emre said at the weekend, that it's all held by his representatives and it's in their hands and he's talking to everybody. But this is the first clear sign of intent that Emre's willing to sit down with Liverpool again and reopen the negotiations. You know, we've spoken over the last few days about how it is the it is the release clause that has been the sticking point to this contract. So let's get into it. Sky Sports broke this news this morning, just before midday. So Emre Can is set to hold further talks with Liverpool this month regarding his future, Sky sources understand. Speculations mounted over a move away, with the player able to sign a pre-contract agreement with a club outside of the Premier League. So yeah, we knew this already. Everything's rumoured to be around Juventus, and you know there was rumours going back a couple of weeks that agreements had been sorted out with Juventus and Emre Can. Listen, you know it's a bit of a mad one, isn't it? So let's get back into the article then anyway. As recently reported by Sky Sports, Can revealed he does not have any existing agreements in place with the Italian side. The players' representative will again sit down with Liverpool to discuss the option of continuing Can's stay with Jurgen Klopp's side. This is the key thing for me. This is the most important thing. Emre Can has been in the form of his career so far. He's 24 years old now. We've had him for a few years. He's developed from that £9.5 million player or whatever it was that we bought from Bayer Leverkusen, and he's really starting to affect footy matches, and that's what I look for in players. Do they affect the games? The last two games he's been absolutely outstanding. The entire Christmas period, I think he's put to bed the rumours of Jordan Henderson coming back in as the number 6 in this side. Jordan Henderson has not played to the level that Emre Can has played at this season, nowhere near it in fact, and Can's had his up and downs this season, but certainly the last month or so, while we've been playing loads of games and loads of fixtures, he has played the most minutes out of every Liverpool player, and you can see that he's vitally important. And as I said at the top, he's affecting football matches, and that's what matters. So, on to some other news and some not good news for a certain Mr. Jon Flanagan. Jon Flanagan, unfortunately, Jon Flanagan has been sentenced for assault. This is not good, of course. You know, sentenced to 40 hours of unpaid work and a community order for assaulting his girlfriend. 25-year-old defender pleaded guilty to common assault by beating of Rachel Waller an earlier hearing. So yeah, I mean, the 12-month community order will include 15 rehabilitation activity days, 40 hours of unpaid work, £85 of costs and £85 victim surcharge. What I thought it was quite interesting was the District Judge Wendy Lloyd said, "You are, of course, a young man of previous good character, and therefore it's undoubtedly sad that if you brought yourself here by your behaviour." Now, Jon Flanagan said that he literally can't remember any of it, and, you know, it's drunk, but you've got to be in control of your actions at all times as a human being, whether you're drunk or not, I suppose, don't you? Liverpool have since come out, actually, with a statement based on this. So this is from the Liverpool Echo website now. Liverpool have condemned the actions of disgraced defender Jon Flanagan and indicated internal disciplinary procedures will now begin. We have expressed... Hang on a minute. We condemn in the strongest possible terms the player's actions during the events that took place, resulting in this criminal conviction. It leaves his own reputation damaged, and through association, he has severely let down the club he had previously represented with distinction. We've expressed to him our disappointment and anger that he has failed to live up to the values of Liverpool Football Club in this specific instance. The club has allowed the legal formalities to reach a conclusion before deciding on or implementing any internal disciplinary action. The internal process will begin now. The club has no further comment to make at this time. I think it's really good that Liverpool have come out and done this. Personally, I think that Liverpool have gone about this the right way. There's so many times over the years where Liverpool, the club themselves, and have come out and said the wrong things at the wrong time. But for me personally, you know, having Jon Flanagan go to court a couple of weeks ago, having him sentenced today, and then the club waiting until everything's sorted before they mention anything and come out with a statement, I think is the right way of doing things. And I'm glad, to be honest, that there is an internal process, because I know what goes on in these internal disciplinary processes. I've done them in my previous jobs and stuff, and it's not all as cut and dry as one might assume from the outside. You know, you do have to take into effect the player's character from previous, and you know, he broke into the side in 2010 and 2011, but ultimately I think what matters most here, that Jon Flanagan gets the right type of help to make sure that this never happens again. Ultimately, he's brought the club into disrepute. He's been sentenced, and now the club are going to have their disciplinary stuff. I think they've gone about it in the right way, which is good as a football fan of Liverpool Football Club. So back onto some transfer news anyway. Liverpool midfielder Marko Grujic is wanted on loan by Cardiff, Middlesbrough and Aston Villa. Yay. This one's a bit of a strange one. Obviously, Grujic hasn't had much football at all this season, to be fair. You know, he's hardly made the bench even. A couple of managers that are interesting. Obviously, Cardiff manager, I think, is Neil Warnock. Middlesbrough manager, Tony Pulis. Not the type of manager that you want to see a Liverpool midfielder linked with, if I'm perfectly honest, is it? You know, you want him to go to a side that probably plays the same kind of way as Liverpool, but what we've got is some yard dog style managers in for him, and that's a little bit of a worry, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, listen, he can go there and he might improve his physicality, he might improve the narkiness that he can play football with, and that might be something that Jurgen wants out of this loan. That really might. Maybe he thinks he's a dead good passer of the ball, and the tick-a-tacker side of the possession side of things great, and what he needs is a real tough game of football, you know, and a physical game of football to help him improve. My guess is that that's not the case, and these are the teams that are interested because of his height, because of his physicality, and because of the way that they'll be able to use him as an attacking midfielder, attacking these long balls and stuff. I don't think it's a good move personally for Grujic if he was to go to one of these clubs, but you never know, and I do hope that we see the best of him, because he's clearly got talent. You know, we've seen it in pre-season, but unfortunately we've only seen it in pre-season, haven't we? And finally, a transfer in, potentially. Okay, so this is from the Independent. I think it's the Independent. Yeah, it is the Independent. Liverpool keeping tabs on Stevenage defender Ben Wilmot, with Tottenham and Southampton also interested. Found this one quite interesting, actually. Tottenham have been in the race for Ben Wilmot for a while now, and he's risen through the ranks of Stevenage and all that type of stuff. And, you know, Southampton, Spurs interested. Now Liverpool apparently interested as well. It was rumoured earlier on in the week that he was going to be going to Tottenham for just under 900,000. I think it was 850,000. However, it is understood that reports are wide of the mark and that Wilmot is yet to agree a move away from Stevenage despite mounting interest. This could open the door for Liverpool, who may decide to take advantage of Tottenham's lack of activity. And this is something that's really good, I think. You know, I want to see the next generation of young stars being brought in, whether the academy now, whether they are brought into the academy. It's very much recognised that if we were to sign someone like a Ben Wilmot, he would go into our, you know, educational program, the under-23s or the under-19s or whatever it is that he goes into. He's in there and he starts to make his way up, so that in a few years' time, hopefully we don't have to spend another £75 million on a centre-back. And that kind of makes sense to me, and these things either work out or they don't work out. But the idea that Liverpool, for me anyway, from what I hear from people who watch all the under stuff, there's a good young crop of players there. Have I heard about those centre-backs? Probably not in the same way. So if you haven't got them at the football club already, you should absolutely be going out there and making sure you get the next crop of youngsters coming through right now. Tom Dutton, that's the end of the news today. I'm going to get into the comment section. While I pull up the comment section, my friend, would you please get me started with a nice little comment?
Definitely. Gerard895 says Can will become the best centre mid in Europe under Klopp, that is. Surely he knows that. I'm confident. So he's obviously talking about his contract there. And Matthew Moore says, just make Can's release clause like 100 million so it puts off potential buyers.
100 million wouldn't put off potential buyers now. Anyway, I think, you know, we've seen that. Jan Oblak's got a clause there for £89 million, and Liverpool's starting to get linked with him, and he's a goalkeeper, do you know what I mean? What I find really interesting about this is, you know, that Liverpool aren't willing to break their wage structure and put a release clause in. And I absolutely think that that's the best move for Liverpool Football Club, because as soon as you start putting something in, I mean, listen, Neymar's was 200 million. Barcelona never thought anyone was going to pay for Neymar. All of a sudden, the money, you know, entering into the game of football increases, and 200 million's not that big a deal anymore. And of course, it was a big deal, but it was never realistic 5 years ago. It was never realistic 3 years ago that you get a £200 million player. Well, it's done now, and Barcelona have lost out on a major asset and a major piece of their team because of that. So 100 million, yeah, you probably threw it as an arbitrary figure, and fair enough, but I don't agree that Liverpool should be doing that. I don't think that you should break your wage structure for anybody. I think that's why Liverpool aren't in for Alexis Sanchez. I just think if you double Alexis Sanchez's wages, let's say, all right, Alexis Sanchez wants top end 400,000 quid, right? And the top earner in ours is on, let's say, 180. You've got 5 players knocking on the manager's door going, can I have that 400k as well? Because I'm a top player at Liverpool and I've given you a few years here, and you know that I'm a linchpin in this side, and he's come in and he's 29 and I want the same money as him. I don't think you should do that for anybody, and unfortunately it might mean that you lose out on someone now, like Emre Can, but you don't know how many people you'll be able to keep hold of because you've not put those release clauses in. Ultimately, you know, we changed, Coutinho went for 142 million quid. If he had a release clause when he signed that contract, would it have been over 100 when Pogba moved for 90? Probably not. And we probably have lost 40 million for putting a release clause in there. So it's like that, isn't it? Okay, so I've got another comment here. Hi Chris, before you're off, is a midfield of Can, Naby and Ox 2 attacking. I think Can would hold his own as a 6 long term. It could be the future. It depends really, doesn't it? I think we often look at midfields, Matt, don't we, as a creative element. Certainly our midfield, a guy who's supposed to be a DM, a guy who's a creative, and a guy who's a bit box to box and stuff like that. Now, Ox is certainly can be box to box. I mean, I've seen him do great defensive work and attacking work. Naby is certainly box to box. I like the idea of, from a pressing point of view, having a midfield of those 3 sounds really great. Equally, swap Lallana in there. Lallana understands pressing. He's maybe a little bit more creative in some areas than Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, but maybe not as direct in others. Equally, throw Gino Wijnaldum in there. As long as they all understand the job role, I don't think there is 2 attacking a midfield. I think if you threw Coutinho in there for Naby, I think that is 2 attacking, because I don't think he's got those defensive elements to his game in quite the same way, for example. Hopefully I've answered your question, and I agree with you. I think Chan's a long-term 6 now, and I'm someone who's not warmed to Chan in a long time, but the level of his performances over the last few weeks have just wowed me, and that's great. Opinions on the Mignolet thing, Chris? He's not good enough for Liverpool Football Club. He's probably never been good enough for Liverpool Football Club. We know that, I think, as football fans. I would continue with Karius for now. I think he's played like 10 times this season and we've not lost with him. I think that's pretty decent. But I do think that he doesn't save enough shots. I think you've seen that he's faced 7 shots in the Premier League this season and he's conceded 4 goals. He's the only goalkeeper in the league apparently who has conceded more goals than shots saved, which is bad. But if we haven't lost with him in the side, how do you use those stats? Difficult to know all the time, isn't it? Tej Peterson, thank you very much for the comment. Get Chan deal done, whatever the price. He'll be hard to replace in the future for any less anyway. Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely see why people keep saying that, at any cost. But for me, I have mentioned that I don't think at any cost. I think you have to try and time that. Let's be brutally honest. Emre Can should know that if he wants to engineer a move out of Liverpool, unfortunately, Phil Coutinho's done it. Suarez has done it. Torres has done it. There's a way to engineer a move out of Liverpool, and Jurgen Klopp's not the type of manager that will hold people against their wish, but that's not to say that you should have a release clause to make it dead easy for them. Dark Kalizny says, get rid of Mignolet and break the bank for Oblak. Also sign up Chan. Agreed. Max Meyer on a free transfer. If he's available on a free transfer, LFC Spectre, yes. Someone that I like. Need a new goalkeeping coach, because Kieran McAllister. I think that honestly is down to Jurgen Klopp. I think if he thinks that John Achterberg's good, then you know what, I trust Jurgen. Andrew Cunningham, hi Chris, how are you, mate? I'm good, thank you. If we had to sign a new goalkeeper, who would you sign? Maybe Alisson from Roma or Oblak from Atletico? I think Oblak from Atletico is better than Alisson for Roma. I'd be happy with both of them. I love Donnarumma at AC Milan. I think his ceiling's higher, but then equally, flip side, I'm fed up with goalkeepers learning on the job at Liverpool, and Donnarumma's of an age where he do a lot of learning on the job, although I think his ceiling's much higher than the others. I personally like Oblak. If there's one weakness to his game, it's probably catching the football, which isn't great, but he's a top quality goalkeeper, isn't he? Another centre-back, says Matthew Betts. Yeah, I'd agree. I think we do need another centre-back. I would put John Achterberg in goal, says McG. Class. Keep him for a couple of seasons. I wish Klopp will make it happen, says Tamo Ali Khan. I've no idea what that's about. Apologies. Jamie Ellis, Andy Robertson, first choice from now on. He's going to be in the team for years. His first choice at the moment, isn't he? You know, Moreno's coming back from injuries, not too far away. Moreno's having a great season, wasn't he? Apart from that severe game, Robertson hasn't put a foot wrong, and right now I don't think you'd be dropping Andrew Robertson for Moreno just because he's not lost the shirt. And that's the way that is. Oblak has a 90 million release clause, says Robert Ford. I think it's 89, 90, 89. Does it really matter? Spent big on a goalkeeper. It's been a problem position for a long time. £90 million for a goalkeeper is nuts, though, isn't it? Absolutely nuts. Need a better backup striker. Worry of any injuries for our front three, says DJ. I'd agree with that. I'd absolutely agree with that. You know, right now we're looking at Dom Solanke, Daniel Sturridge, Danny Ings. Not many goals there this season from them, is there? I mean, listen, Dom Solanke hasn't had lots of opportunities, and Danny Ings has had fewer. Daniel Sturridge has affected football matches, but it's massively rumoured that he'll be going to somewhere like a Sevilla or something now. There's not a lot of goals there, yeah, so I'd agree with that, you know. Firmino just seems to be a bit of a tank, doesn't he? You know, he just seems to keep on going and going and going, and then he'll have that game where he looks absolutely knackered. You need to make sure that you can rest him because he'll just keep running and running and running. I do think we need a backup striker, I really do, and I don't think we should be looking for a backup striker. I think we should be looking for a striker who would get into our side and then making a decision off that about whether he's the backup or not. It is what it is. Should we recall Origi, says Tom Gilbert. He's having a good time of it. I think it's Wolfsburg, isn't it, that he's at? Apparently he's really enjoying his football there, and rumours are that he's actually interested in staying there. Good for him, you know. It's good to see players go out on loan and start doing well and actually maybe enjoy themselves, because I think it looked at the end that he wasn't enjoying his time at Liverpool, and maybe that was because he wasn't getting the opportunities, and maybe that was because he thought that, you know, after the run that he'd had in that Europa League stuff, that, you know, he deserved his chance. Unfortunately, he just didn't seem to fit when we played that one up top role very often, did he? Whereas I do think that there is something there with Dom Solanke. I think we need to play him into a bit of form, and we need to get him a goal, man, definitely. Okay, AC Milan goalkeeper, says LFC Spectre. Yeah, I said that, mate. It's Donnarumma. Looking for a striker. Timo Werner's a proper Klopp type player. Yeah, I mean, Timo Werner's class. Absolutely class. I can't imagine the Liverpool board and transfer committee or whoever it is that deals with the other clubs would be very happy going in with RB Leipzig again, though, would they? Hello and welcome to the Redmen TV, says as a fella, I like that. Would you like Ozil, Chris? Graham Kelly says we're interested, says Stuart Smith. I think he's incredibly talented as a footballer, and he goes missing for far too long during games, during seasons. He's clearly he's an incredible technician, isn't he? As Brendan Rodgers was trying to say. But no, I probably wouldn't want him, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm turning down what is essentially a guy who's had a world-class career for free. What am I doing? Of course, bring him in. Bring him in and find a place that he can affect 10 games a season. Why not? Yeah, why not? No to Frog Guy, says Clive 092. Ozil doesn't have the work rate as Akai Productions. Yeah, you're exactly right, actually. He doesn't have the work rate, but then if he was to come to Liverpool, you know, Klopp wouldn't let him get away with that. So, I think I saw something quite interesting on... it might have been on Twitter the other day, and it was like Ozil would turn up at Liverpool and he'd be sick every training session because Klopp works them so hard, you know what I mean? And I found that quite interesting. But if Klopp sees something in him, Klopp obviously speaks his language as well, even both being Germans and stuff, and speaks to him and looks him in the eyes and thinks, this guy's going to work hard for me and half of my team, then I just trust Klopp, and that's it. Like, and I'm not bothered for who he goes for. Like, this Ben Wilmot, if Klopp wants him, go and get him. His record in the transfer market's been outstanding. You know, you talk about hit and miss, right? Corker, maybe the only miss, and he signed him on loan because I think it was just an absolute shot in the dark. We needed somebody's through the door, and he got Corker in. let's look at it. Klavan. That's a successful signing for me because he's a backup player and I think that he's played at a level this season that's been sound. Matip's clearly a success. Karius is actually a bit of a miss at the moment. Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Gini Wijnaldum. I mean, these are all massive successes. If Klopp wants a player, go and get that frigging player because he seems to understand what he wants in his side and everything seems to make sense. So there we go. Paycheck new to Sander Donham. Yeah, there we go, man. Another one. Great signings. Ake's a great shout, says Harry Cooper. Sam King said great signings. Pulisic, yeah, who was that? The Seppies. I mean, obviously. And for more than just the fact that he's a player and stuff, I mean, I know you shouldn't think like this, but the commercial side of things with having America's next or maybe biggest player ever, could be absolutely massive, and maybe that's something that FSG wants. And I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but I could understand why FSG would want that because I think he'd be a very marketable asset over in America. And I understand that's a bit stupid, but I could definitely understand that. Pulisic or Lamar? Well, Lamar's the better player right now, and that was Hussein Raja. Leon Anthony said, that's like me. I really do trust the manager's decisions. You're right there. Thank you very much. Okay, well, there we go then. I've enjoyed that. It's been good to get back into the comments once again. Sorry for missing the daily news yesterday. Just ran out of time, to be perfectly honest with you. It's been great chatting with you all, of course. We'll be back tomorrow with another daily news. Hopefully we'll have some transfer-ins to talk about because, let's be honest, that's the best. Is it falafel time, says Brace DeVille? No, I'm off the falafel, to be honest with you. I OD'd on falafel. There's only so many chickpeas that you can get into your body, and I exhausted all of them. Okay, so there we go. That's the end of the news show. Thanks very much for joining me again. There's loads of people watching today, which is bosh, and I've enjoyed chatting to you as I always do. Thanks to Tom as well, of course, behind the camera, the man, the legend that is Tom Dutton. He'll be back on the show at the weekend as well. Like the video. You got to like the video. It's key that you like the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll see you next time on the Redmen TV.